G'day guys, today we're going to play around with exposure to create an effect. Now I've got a camera set up here, I've got a plain grey background. One day I'll tell you why I love grey backgrounds in a studio. Now this one unfortunately is dirty because it's been on the floor and people have walked across it. But what we're going to do is we're going to take 3 photographs of it. The first one we're going to make an exposure at what the camera thinks is the correct exposure. And eventually that will finish that because silly enough, I've gone in and set the ISO at 100 in here and it's quite dark. Okay, now I'm going to overexpose this and I've just got to turn the light on so I can see it. And we're going to overexpose it and photograph it again. And you'll notice this time the shutter stays open quite a lot longer because it's sucking as much light as it can in. Now, we've got that exposure made. We will go now and we will try and do the exact opposite. Turn the light on again and we will now hopefully be able to look at that. We're going to underexpose dramatically. There we go. That should be very underexposed. Okay, taking a quick look at the histograms there, you see on the left-hand side we've got the photograph, which is a representation fairly close to what the actual tone of the background is. And then on the histogram on this side, on the right-hand side of the monitor, we have the representation of that piece of tonality, because that's all it is. The blank on either side doesn't matter because we've only got one tone of grey. And it's roughly in the centre where it should be if it's correctly exposed for a sheet of grey paper. Okay, let's move on to our overexposed shot, and you can see the background is now totally white. So we've turned a grey background into a totally white background. On the histogram you can see, well hopefully you can see, just the absolute edge of the histogram touching the far right hand side to indicate that that is as white as we're going to get. And if we toddle across to the underexposed image, you can see the image has disappeared because we have black, and again the histogram is now hard to the left hand side, which represents the black side of the spectrum. So effectively what we've done here is just by manipulating our exposure we have turned a mid-grey background into a mid-grey background, a white background and a black background. If we want to take that further, if we changed our exposures in 1/3 increments, we could actually have not all, but a massive number of different shades of grey, all from the one background just by varying our exposure from the technically correct exposure.